Good morning, Castle Rock. I'm Reverend Jay Lang. I'm a minister at Mile High Church, and I don't get as much chance to speak there as I like, and I love to speak, so I'm glad to be here today in your community. It's probably been a couple of years since I've been speaking here, and what I notice is this community has grown. There's a vibrancy here. There's an excitement about being here. So it's such a pleasure to be here. Yeah, give yourself a round of applause. I know that you're in the process of finding a new minister, and you are in my prayers to find the perfect minister, as well as you're in the prayers of all of Mile High ministers. So blessings on that route. So today my talk is about miracles, the everyday miracles we have, a daily dose of miracles. And I know this Sunday kicks off the monthly theme of cultivation. So really what we're talking about is cultivating the everyday miracles we have. It's a part of our everyday life. I mean, you've heard of miracles of Jesus, of Moses, of Saint Teresa, St. Francis, and even more recently, John of God. Some of them seem truly miraculous, and other ones seem rather trivial, like maybe you've heard of like a piece of bread that's been toasted in the shape of the Virgin Mary. Now, for myself, it's not mine to decide what is a miracle for someone else. I can know what is God that is expressing through me, that is incarnating through me, that's being through me. I can recognize that. I'm grateful for that. And I allow and accept more of that to come into my life at all times. And it's that part that I want to talk about today. That which is truly who we are in a natural state of being. The life that we're here. Now, before I get too far into this talk, I need to let you know something. I grew up in Texas. There we go. So in Texas, there's not many miracles there. But there are a whole lot of miracles in Texas. Right? So you might hear me move in and out of using the word miracle and miracle and know that they're the same thing. Just a little translation there for you if you struggle with that a little bit this morning. And when I talk about miracles, generally people are talking about an event or phenomena that's out of the ordinary, something that science can't explain, and they attribute it to an intervention of the divine. However, here at this center and centers across the nation, we believe that God is all there is, and all there is God. So we're not looking for the miracle that comes out and down like a lightning or a burning bush. Instead, we're looking for the incarnation of Spirit right here and right now that comes through us in each and every breath we take. That is the miracle that we're talking about. That is what we want to cultivate, what we want to live through, what we want to be more fully in everything we do. Our bodies seek healing, whether it's a cut or cancer. Our hearts seek connection. Our souls seek oneness. It's a natural part of our being. And when we allow and accept it, it's that which we find. Not only that, that which we seek, whether it's connection, healing, or just a sense of oneness, that which we seek also seeks us. To me, that's comforting. Because I simply have to open up to the divine, and it's coming through me as life itself, teeming forth in all that is, in all that we know. I stand in this place of awakening, this place of consciousness, like a kid on Christmas Eve waiting for these miracles to happen in my life. And I trust and know that they are. That all life is good. Today I'd like to give you 3 ways of opening more of these miracles in your life. The first one is simply to open up your eyes and your ears, to look more fully with beginner's eyes and to listen more deeply. Take a moment and look around this room. Go ahead and turn around and look at all the miracles you see in this place. Isn't it true that this place is full of divine miracles? And then come back to center and close your eyes for a minute and listen. Listen deeply to the sounds of a miracle. Right on cue. Thank you. Yeah. Open your eyes again and just be in this presence of this knowing, of this life. You know, there's no better time right now to open our eyes to the divine miracles of this spring. What a beautiful spring it is. A long-awaited spring. I know we've had snow well into May this year. And yet how glorious it is with all this moisture we have. A lot of Coloradans say we really only have 2 seasons here, and that's winter and road construction. Although I know those cone zones are sprouting up faster than the flowers are, I choose not to buy into the cynicism that I have for so long in my life. The analysis that gives more energy to that than the actual miracles that are happening in my life. The spring that is sprouting up, the greenness, the grass, the growth that's happening all around us, the water that's flowing through the creeks right now because of the snow melt, the beauty that is right before us. And we open our eyes and we open our ears also to listen deeply to those around us beyond the conversation, beyond the content of what they're talking about, and listen even deeper to the soul that is expressing itself. The very incarnation of God, the very miracle that we know. The sense of wonder that we have in this everyday God that we have in our lives. You know what's interesting is, like I mentioned, centers across the nation like this one. We come here to learn how to deepen our faith, how to create the life we want with certain tools, with meditation and prayer. Often, it's what's bring us in the door to find some sort of shift in our lives, some sort of healing, as we live more fully in this community. And yet what's interesting about that is that which we seek, the desire of our prayers, can also put blinders on our eyes. Because we can go around looking for that certain healing of that diagnosis, or that new relationship, or that new car, that new house, that new job, that shift we want in our life, the abundance, the prosperity, and they are like blinders, like a horse on a race course. Here we teach affirmative prayer. We talk about affirmative prayer, and as part of that prayer, we release our words, we release our attachment, we release how we want the form and content of our prayers to be, and that opens up the binders, opens up our eyes to a greater expanse, and we fully take in all that is God, not just this little piece that we want this healing on. And guess what? By opening up, we have a greater resource. We're in all of this oneness, all of this presence, and it's that which our healing comes forth anyway. It gives us greater understanding, greater knowing, greater truth that we live from. And it's that which is our healing source, which is always God. You also may be in a place in your life I think I lost it. I think I had to release it, right? Oh, it broke. That's why. Okay, let's see if we can just do this. Is that going to be better? All right, well, we're back. All right, so we could also be a place in our life where everything is fine. Everything is good, right? Where we're not looking for anything in particular to manifest in our lives. And yet we continue to do our prayer. We continue to open up to a greater life without even knowing anything specific. The problem if we don't do that, we become spiritual lazy. Like we're going, oh, life's good, life's fine, you know. It's sort of like, you know, us guys are particularly good at that. You know, we can fall off a ladder, fall on our back, and we're suddenly jumping up going, I'm good, I'm fine. Right? Don't we do that? If we treat life like that, spiritually, we can become lazy. We're not doing our spiritual work, men and women here. It's almost like instead of blinders, we have a blindfold on. It's like we're hiding from our highest good, and we don't even, and our highest good is seeking us, and we don't even realize we're playing a game of hide and seek. Now, I don't know about you, but when I played hide and seek as a kid, there was always one kid who would hide so well you couldn't find him, right? And people would just kind of give up and go home or quit playing. And the kid would come out going, hey, I'm here. How come everybody's giving up? Well, the rules of the game is you make it a reasonable challenge to find somebody. Well, folks, in this spiritual game we're playing, we want to be found. We want God to find us. We need to make ourselves available. We need to hide in plain sight. We need to slow down our lives to have our spiritual practices, prayer and meditation, listening to music like these chants or reading sacred text. This is how we make ourselves more available so that which seeks us finds us and moves through us, and through this we allow this healing to happen. We allow these manifestations to happen. Even if it's not something particular, we allow our highest and best, our joy, our love, our peace to express through who we are. We are individually creative elements that are unique in this world, and the world needs us in who we are and who we've come here to be. And by making ourselves available, that's how we do it. We allow and accept these miracles in our lives. So by opening up our eyes and our ears to a greater level of spirit, we are opening up to these everyday miracles. And also, once we are in this place of recognition, in this place of consciousness, we can be in amazement. We can be in awe of the simple things in life. Lately, I've been reading about Rabbi Abraham Heschel. He was a Jewish philosopher and theologian in the 20th century. You know, when I think of the 20th century, I make that sound like it was so long ago. That was just like 15 years ago, right? I think all of us, well, maybe not all of us. There's a few exceptions in the room. We're born in the 20th century. But he passed in the 20th century, so we still say it that way. He was criticized often for being and focusing on spirituality rather than the sacred Jewish text by other Jewish theologians. Now, when I read that right away, this is my kind of guy, you know, more focused on spirituality than printed word. This is our kind of people, right? He also said the opposite of evil, the opposite of good is not evil, but indifference. Indifference. So he went about it in his life. He walked beside Martin Luther King for civil rights for African Americans. He spoke to the Pope and Christian leaders about their views of Jews and helped create more sacredness and respect of all religions in the world. But today in particular, what I want to talk about him is he had a concept called radical amazement. Radical amazement. This is a quote by Rabbi Heschel.
Our goal should be to live life in radical amazement, to get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Everything is phenomenal. Everything is incredible. Never treat life casually. To be spiritual is to be amazed. Just to be is a blessing. Just to live is holy. Just to be is a miracle. And in the quiet moments of my life, I recognize that. Life as it is, and just allowing that to be, for I always find, no matter what chaos and turmoil, concerns about my health or prosperity there are, it's always well within. I can always find that place within me that knows that everything is good, that everything is okay. It's always well within. And I find this place of awe, this place of joy. About a year and a half ago, my wife, Michelle, is sitting up here on the front. We bought a house. Love our house. So this spring, I decided to start a garden. And I built the box, amended the soil with compost, planted the seeds, and lo and behold, things started growing. Wow! I was so excited. I brought my wife out because she's not a person who likes to get her hands dirty. I did get her some gloves. That's good.
Appreciate them.
I brought neighbors over, friends, and showed this excitement. It's not that I was surprised, because I know that's the way things work. I know whether in a garden or in our life, when we plant seed, things sprout, things grow. But I was in awe of the process. How awesome is this? How amazing is this happens? And the beauty of the plants that were growing up, the lettuce and the kale and the bok choy and the tomatoes and the sugar snap peas, the squash, the pumpkins, it's all growing. And of course I need to keep watering it. And there is that whole thing about weeding, right? Because more plants started coming up than I planted. But that's fine. I live this life in amazement because I know this opens me up for a greater sense, a greater life, a greater expression of the divine in all things I do. This is life. This is a grand life. And it is this that allows me to recognize and realize the daily dose of miracles that I always have. I also know that when I'm in this place of open consciousness, radical amazement, that something else begins to happen. My heart begins to open, or continues to open, sometimes subtly, imperceptibly, and other times rather profoundly, around times of grief or disappointment or perceived rejection. And yet it is in this open heart that is the third way that I open myself up to more miracles in my life. Because it is this open heart that I can be with the open heart of God. That I can be truly one. Now it's in this open heart that I can fully feel things, that I can fully be with what is in my life. I mean, I will continue to feel sadness at different times, hurt, anxiety maybe about something coming up that I've never done before, sadness. And yet they're not feelings, they're not emotions that stay with me for long. I'm able to feel what I need to feel, and then I can let it go. Some feelings last longer, the deeper levels of grief that I might have. I can feel those, and I can still let those go. This is not always natural for us, though, because you see, we've spent our whole life protecting this heart, thinking that we need to be safe. And we have layers upon us that we think help us. And when we feel this hurt, or this pain, we quickly close it up, close the wound up so we don't have to feel it. But that is actually not as safe. We can be more safe, more protected when we're in the authentic life, because we can feel these feelings completely and fully and keep it open to know what is right here. Keep it open for God's intuition. The intuition to have a conversation with someone, a nudging to call somebody. Or when someone calls us, even though we're busy, to realize this may be an important conversation, just to be with this person. Or to read a certain book, to follow a certain lead. It's in the open heart that's in the here and now that we can do this. But we have to be able to let these selves go, these adapted selves that we think we need to protect ourselves. When you're feeling fear, it's an emotion that is actually something that is you're thinking about might happen in the future. When you're feeling regret, it's wishful thinking about something in the past. Neither one live in this here and now, in the heart that is present right here and right now. And it is this heart that is the opening for God, for more miracles in your life, for life as we know it that is great and grand. The psychiatrist, Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, gave us a story that I really enjoy. It's about a young man who was in the prime of his life, in his young 20s, who was athletic, an all-star athlete in high school and beginning in college, was handsome, it's just one of those people that was a natural leader. People followed and people admired and wished they were. And he had built a life around this is who he was. But he had a diagnosis of bone cancer. And it required them to amputate his leg in order to stop the cancer. And it did. And he was happy about that, but he was still so depressed about being this 22-year-old with only one leg. He spent a lot of time with the Dr. Remen kind of talking about this, and she was trying to help him with his depression and helping him get on with his life. And part of that is some art therapy he did with her. And as part of that art therapy, he drew a black vase. And then he drew a crack down the middle of it. And he said, "This is me. I am broken. I will never be the same." And she just listened to him. And then she, in time, encouraged him to begin to talk to other cancer patients at the hospital, thinking that that might help him move forward. And he began to do that, and he began to see some purpose for what he was doing. At least he could bring some comfort to other people who were struggling with what he struggled with. He was fitted with a prosthesis, and he was able to walk around the hospital, and he ended up in the room of a middle-aged woman who had a beautiful voice. But since she had had lung cancer, she hadn't felt the joy of the singing that she'd felt. She too was on a path of depression after her diagnosis and treatment. And he began to talk to her and wasn't making any kind of inroads at all. And finally, there was some music playing in the background. And he took off his prosthesis and set it down and started dancing around on his one leg. And she started laughing. She goes, "Honey, if you can dance, I can sing." And she began singing in that moment and opening up her voice and opening up her life. And then he really knew he was making a difference. So as he continued to work with Dr. Remen, she decided to do one last visit with him because she really thought he was on his own to knowing that unique expression of the divine that he was. And so they started going through his portfolio, the drawings he had done, and they came across that vase with the crack in it. And he looked at it, paused for a moment, and he said, this one's not complete. We need to do one more thing. And she was confused, but he reached over and grabbed the art materials that were still in the room. And in that crack of the vase, he began to take a yellow crayon and drawing streaks of yellow out of that vase. And he goes, this is the light that has come out of the crack. You get it? This is the open heart that he had and the light that came out of it. It is the same open heart that each of us can have that allows that light to come through, that light to come forth, the miracles to come forth. And it is simple as a step-by-step that we do, that Lana sang about, that with each step we take, we have an awareness of who we are and what we are. And we allow this to come forth. We allow the room for miracles, allow for the joy, allow the room for love and the room for healing. And it's available to each and every one of us today. Let us pray.